What up, my fellow world denizens? So we finally got a drop on Underworlds this weekend, and I am more than thrilled to hear all about it. Now, I didn't really take a look into anything. I did see some people talk about some stuff. I did see the cover art. I'm just intrigued because a lot of people had some conflicting opinions about the game, from the artwork design to the cards, but I'd rather watch it firsthand, kind of give you my feedback, and kind of go from there. So let's just jump right into it. So guys, we saw when this all happened, it went down. This is the first time I watched it. I just kind of lined it up to where it starts and kicks off. So let's kind of go from there and see what they have to say.
Should we get started? Mm-hmm. Because the first thing we're going to be talking about is something I've been itching to talk about for months and months and months. It's finally here.
I love how he works himself up so much to things. I kind of like these rats. I mean, we got a lot of rats in the game already, but I kind of like these ones. Okay. I mean, I wish like we had different things. We always seem to get a lot of storm casts when it's always like a 3 warband. And you're like, I mean, that's pretty dope. I love that one. I like the one with rats, like the Skaven that literally look like that, like little weird guys. It's just kind of cool. Okay, interesting. We have some new logo, like symbols. Don't know what they mean yet. Same dice. Okay, cool. Little cards. I'm digging it so far. It's not so bad. Like some little, we get some visual updates and some other stuff, but we'll see what it really turns out to be.
Hi folks, my name's Nick, and yep, you've just seen the new Warhammer Underworlds Emberguard box. And the big news is, well, it marks the beginning of a completely new edition of the game. First up, what's so great about Warhammer Underworlds anyway? It's a perfect combination of a board game, a card game, and a miniatures game. So if
I give that.
I
mean,
literally
he's not wrong about that.
Before, you'll be able to pick it up with no problem at all. Games take about an hour to play, so you can get a few games in over an evening, and thanks to the huge combinations allowed for by warbands, card decks, and dice rolls, you can play hundreds of games and have them all feel different. There are even different formats too, so if you just want to open a pre-built deck, shuffle, and play, you can, but if you want to test your dark powers of fate manipulation and fully design your own deck, well, you can do that too. This edition of the game is a total reset. Our rules designers have taken the chance to redesign the game from the bottom up to be the most balanced it's ever been, removing feels bad.
See, when you hear that, it makes it seems like they're taking the restrictions of saying rival decks that only match, and that they're allowing more of an open format, so like the newer decks can be playable to the warbands that you do have, which is kind of interesting, because if that's what the update will include, then we're going to see like a lot of different things being changed for these warbands, and if so, what are we going to see for them? And I think that's an interesting, it's an interesting change. I mean, it's a first point initiative to get to like somewhere, and like I mean, I'm a little bit shocked at the fact that we just saw like we're changing the game. It threw me off, but it seems interesting, so we're going to keep going with this.
Moments like bricked hands of cards you can't use, or having crits just dominate the game. And with its streamlined rulebook, it's also much simpler to learn. This means Emberguard is the ideal starting point for people who are new to the game and battle-hardened veterans just like me. But what else is new? Well, gone are the 2 board setups, and in comes the single board, designed for both players.
Okay, so you hear that, and it sounds like it's a clean idea. Like, oh, we're done with the 2 boards. Like, so what happens to our boards? Do we just consider them just now 1 board? And that's it? Because if you're going to tell me to throw all my boards out right now... Fists. It feels weird. But I mean, like, I don't think they're going to tell you to do that. I think ultimately they're going to just say, like, you can put them together and treat them as 1 board. But we'll see. We'll see. We haven't heard everything just yet.
Players to use. It's double-sided and can be placed just about any way you like. And crucially, models will have to engage with the opposing warband straight away, making games even more action-packed from the start. Every warband now has a War Scroll card, detailing what makes them unique in the game, including
Okay.
some seriously cool special rules.
That's actually very
Talking
cool.
of cool-looking cards, the power, objective, and fighter cards have been updated with artwork being replaced by stunning miniature shots, meaning everything looks as good and shiny as Sigmarite plate armor. Not all factions in
I don't
Underworlds
know.
play the game in the same way. Some warbands love smashing their opponent apart, while others prefer
Like, I feel weird about that one when they say that, like, it's nice and shiny from the artwork. I don't know, the artwork was pretty solid. I mean, I like the artwork. I think it kind of gave it its personal flair and style, but I mean, this is a miniatures type game, and like, I get it. Like, I do like the art. Like, I'm not gonna say their photography team is not killer at what they do, but I feel like, you know, that's more of a business choice on their end. They're just like, it'd be easier. We already have photos of them. We have to do promo photos of them. You know, we'll just align it and make it an easier ship date. So, but again, what are you guys' thoughts? What do you think about it? Do you think it was bad or good when they did that one?
claiming treasure tokens. You might prefer your warband to be a combination of both.
I'm actually looking forward to play them too.
Tricks up their sleeves. We've defined these as strike, take and hold, flex, and finally mastery, meaning you can easily pick a warband that suits your style of play and choose a rival's deck to accompany it that you know will work great. The action moves to Emberguard, the city in the realm of Akshi, where the Skaven have
I think that's kind of cool. I like the landscape decision.
Swarming the lands. But in the vast mines below
It just,
Emberguard,
can we
huge
stop doing the
quantities of
Skaven?
Emberstone, the realm stone of Akshi,
They seem to be in everything.
and warbands flock there to try and claim
But
it.
this, I'm not against this warband. I kind of dig them.
Stormcast Eternals sent to the mines under Emberguard to protect the Emberstone at all costs, while Zikit's Tunnel Pack are nefarious Skaven, desperate to get their clawed hands on as much Emberstone as they possibly can. Of course, more warbands will be on the way, so those mines are going to get pretty crowded. Oh, and one last thing. Speaking of warbands, if it's legal in organized play, you're going to be able to get it from warhammer.com or your friendly local game store. It's as simple as that. So,
Okay, so I don't, that's a weird thing to say to me, because to me, like, when you say that, like, if it's legal, I mean, I feel like all the warbands are coming back, but if they're gonna do that, like, that feels like a dirty way of avoiding, like, you getting an uproar right now as everyone gets amped. So I'm hoping by next week. But I think, again, we saw with Kill Team that they were, you know, very upfront about what they did, and then like kind of remove certain teams, and they were just like, hey, we're just gonna do this. People may have not been happy, but like in this case, Underworlds, this can be a really big thing for them if they make sure to keep those warbands, because like for people like me, I have a lot of the older warbands and I really would like to play some of them in this, and I like the idea that the decks are being more of an open universal use for everyone, so we can see the different challenges we're going to face with them, and giving the unique cards instead of having to have them separate and read separately. I think we're going to see a lot of changes.
so there we go. It's time for a new edition of a genuinely incredible game, and Warhammer Underworlds Emberguard is coming to a tabletop near you soon.
I don't know, guys, what do you think?
So there
He
we
is
go,
smiling.
the brand new edition.
Let's-
of Warhammer
can we
Underworlds
stop
is
for a
here
minute?
with the Emberguard. Super exciting.
I just, the way he just smiles so hard. I love you, my man. Just don't stare too hard. It feels like you had too much coffee that morning.
I'm glad the cat's out of the bag on this one. It's been a long time coming. It looks great, doesn't it?
It does indeed. We have had.
He is so
much
happy.
fun
Like you can tell he's either had a lot of input or he's just, this is one of his favorite leagues to
You've
play.
been winning most of your games, I seem to remember.
Well,
Now, of course, Warhammer Underworlds, if you've never played before, as the video just talked about, it's a fantastic game of cards and miniatures and board game combined. It's great for beginners and for veterans alike.
Does this ever feel like he's
And
pitching it because he's the one who's like
Emberguard
designed,
box
been like the whole
is such
person
a good
behind the
place
team?
to
He's like,
dive in if you
it's
haven't
my
read
baby.
before. And if you're like me and you're a veteran player, it's a great place to just carry on your experience as well. Now, one of the best things about Underworld, Alex,
Okay.
one of the best things.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop you there, man. You gotta, when you say it's for me and the veteran players, you gotta tell me why. But you just can't say me and you veteran players. Why? I mean, you made a lot of drastic changes, and I feel like a lot of people may be asking questions of why is it better than the old one. Like, and so far we've heard that it's been simplified and streamlined. Cool. But as my experience too, when I bought Kill Team, I generally saw a box and I got to get into it and look into it, and like the disappointing part was like, I mean, again, I'm gonna go back over the core book, but I thought I was gonna see more in this core book, but didn't. So I think they're hitting an era where with skirmish games they're condensing to make it easier and less like verbiage in like books, like, which is cool and not cool, because like, I mean, like, yeah, if it's cheaper in some sense, but it doesn't feel like, but if we got more terrain. But I'm looking forward to it. To be honest, I did like the Underworlds terrain. I'm wondering if that's still capable, if we're actually going to still be able to even use that right now in this new set. So we'll see what happens here.
It's always been the miniatures. Ever since the start, there's always been some great...
I just love these painting ones.
Warhammer Underworlds, and this box is no exception. And up on the screen now, I think we've got your favourite warband.
We do indeed. So this is Zicket's Tunnel Pack. Now, one of the best things, as you said, is the miniatures. And for Warhammer Underworlds, because you've got little warbands between sort of like 3 and 5 characters, you can tell a story with each individual one. You're not looking at a big squad. So this is Zicket. And he seems to, at one point, lost one of his claws, but he's high enough ranking that he's probably bullied some warlock engineer to kind of fashion him a new one.
Has he got a clause in his contract, Alex?
Oh. My favourite in the warband is Ritak there on his kill wheel. So I can imagine him just like tearing through the tunnels under Emberguard with that warp grinder on the front of it, just skewering everybody he comes across.
It's just so cool. And you know, I don't have to imagine it because you've done it to me multiple times on the table. My favourite warband are the Ember Watch, who are the Stormcast Eternals.
This is like the first time I will just say this right now.
And here, everybody.
That face. I don't know, that Skull's face looks really weird to me. It's just like he smelled or with something. He doesn't look very actionist.
Especially you. On the screen here, we've got Ardorn, the leader. How heroic is this miniature?
I'm going to try to paint him
hero
differently.
locks and flowing hair. That's how you are a paragon of order. What a great miniature.
He's majestic.
It really is. And the whole warband's great. There we go, all three of us. Yurik on the left and Faras on the right. And what's great about these warbands, if you're a painter, is that
I think this gave him a little bit of color.
Project, a few models here or there. You're not painting a whole army. That is good fun, but sometimes just a little project, and these warbands provide a great chance to do that. You painted your Skaven warband, didn't you?
Indeed. So this is your opportunity to sort of collect wide as opposed to deep.
Exactly that. Hey, talking of going deep, what a great segue. This is the new setting for Warhammer Underworlds, is the Emberguard Mines. Tell us more.
Yes, so Emberguard was one of the cities that was set up at the end of kind of the Dawnbringers saga. However, it sits in the Adamantine.
I won't say that I'm opposed to their setting now. Like, I kind of like that we're getting away from like just constant devouring and weird like locations that didn't make sense for a minute. It felt that way. Could be wrong.
Basically, it is now sat on the border of millions and millions of Skaven that are seeking to break through and get into action. Now, this city has been, well, let's not say abandoned, but it's certainly not in a good shape. And deep underground, you've got all the Emberstone mines. And unsurprisingly, the Skaven would like to access this Emberstone. It's volatile, it's explosive, it's everything they love. And for the same reasons, I suspect we're going to see an awful lot of people coming here.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more warbands coming, that's for sure. Now, the game at its heart is the same game it always was, but the designers have taken a real good chance to sort of go back to basics and sort things out and clean things up and make the game a lot easier to learn as well. And one of the things they've done, which I really love, is they've actually defined the different play styles of the game. Now, previously, gamers would have talked about aggressive warbands or flex warbands, that sort of thing, but we've actually gone now and defined the 4 different warband types as strike, take and hold, flex, which is a combination of the other 2, and mastery, which is sort of like sneaky tricks you want to play. And this is ideal because not only if you're used to card games, you're probably already used to this sort of thing already, but it also means if you know your play style, if you like hitting stuff with a big club, you go for a strike warband. If you're a bit sneakier, like yourself, you might go for a mastery warband, which is really cool. And actually, in the Emberguard box, there's a Rivals deck that comes, and there's one of each of those 4 in there.
Oh, so for these 4 decks, can you use them with either warband?
Absolutely. In fact, any warband. So any deck in the game can be used with any deck at all.
Well, I mean, that confirms it off the bat. It looks like they're doing away with rival decks like that, formatting it. So that means we will see these teams coming back and forth. Which teams will we see? We'll see which box sets keep existing. But it seems like a lot of them will still exist, which I'm kind of excited about.
However, what the designers have done is they've defined the warbands as one of those 4, and each deck is one of those 4, which means if you want to use a take and hold warband, it's going to be ideal to go for a take and hold Rivals deck as well, because that's going to suit their playstyle.
But if you don't want to do that and you want to be a little bit more sneaky,
You're right, you can do that. You can take, if you wanted to take a strike warband and a take and hold deck, you could, and you know what, that might surprise your opponent enough to get one up on them. No bad thing at all. Now, the other thing we want to talk about here for the new edition, just the way it looks. Look at the cards. The photography here is it's just so good. We used to have artwork, but now our photography team's taking the advantage of the great miniatures we have.
I love that hard pitch. We had good way to talk about this. Photography took the lead on this one. Like, you don't have to. I think we noticed it in the card. I like the idea though. I think it's kind of cool that they're allowing that.
Fighter cards all have photography and it just looks so good.
it was the opportunity to really tell a story in the same way that the miniatures do. And you can see here with the character cards that you've got the full-sized model.
Yeah.
So if you're looking across the table at your opponent's warband, you can instantly tell which is which.
You can. It's so good. Now, one thing that's really exciting here is while it is on the way soon, you can actually see games of Warhammer Underworlds being played really soon, because next week at the Tampa Open, we are going to be showing a live stream of games of the new edition of Warhammer Underworlds.
There we go.
Please tune in right here on this same channel, and you can see the first games of the new edition being played. And I'm going to be there watching as well, and I can't wait. So there we go. Exciting, right? Right, with that out of the way, now we're going to stay in the mortal realms, but we're going to go somewhere else, Alex. There's something...
All right. Wow. Well, so that was a lot to take in, because they literally just dropped a whole bomb saying we're starting over and doing a lot of different things. So I can kind of see where the community actually got upset about this, for the fact that, you know, first we were like, hey, look, we're going to be, you know, playing this new set, you know, and Underworlds is still existing. And I think we had this idea of that where it was going to stay, where, because like, why would you print this or do this if you weren't going to keep it this way? And I, like, maybe that's this last set, but it kind of sucks. Because, like, one, if you played Underworld for a minute, you actually know there's alternative art cards. And I actually have a lot of them, and that kind of sucks. So they just axed those alt cards. That just goes out the door. Two, the way the game has been played for a while is now, like, it's changed, I'm assuming, in a sense, but because, like, it has these new additions of like how you're going to look at your warband. Instead of having the warband have individual ones printed, it will just have their stats on a stat card, condensing it and making it easier, which is cool. You know, like, I dig that idea. But again, will that also take away from the flavor of the character? Like, do they still have their own attacks, or are they just going to simplify saying what their attacks are? Like, you know, because that's kind of the cool thing, but I think they're going to still keep the characters and maybe have just like that kind of set there. So with that said, I think after that point, the board condensing, that makes more sense. I don't know, like the separation boards was kind of cool to an extent, but it felt like the game it was still kind of like trying to figure itself out, even though, like, you know, there were like different warbands have longer reach, different shoots. I feel that with this update, we're going to see a probably well-balanced game and have a little bit more fun to it, which I appreciate, you know. I don't think it's going to take away tactics, since now we have more card variation, since there's going to be like it seems like no rival like restrictions, just going to have the play style of those warbands and how they play, and then how they're more effective into those types, or you can mix and match, or those games themselves. So it's kind of interesting, to be honest. I mean, it came out of left field. It shocked me. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think this is something that, you know, they should have done? This is like what you were waiting for? Or do you feel this was just way drastic and overcorrection to figuring like, oh God, like you didn't need to go that far to correct the game? But I want to hear your general feedback, you know, because for me, like, I think I'm intrigued by this new update. I want to see what happens to it. I do think that now that the cards are open and it's not restricted like it was, where these decks or these rivals or this and that, I think by opening it, it's made it more interesting. And I think that the game will actually see a huge, you know, like, I think more or less we'll see a growth, because let's just face facts here. That's a big change. So we'll tune into next week. We'll find out how the game goes. But guys, give me your feedback. Let me know what you thought about this reveal. And besides that, my Underworld denizens, I'll see you next time in the Underworlds.